Oracles are essentially bridges that bridge data from off-chain onto the blockchain or from one blockchain to another blockchain. If you're building a product on the blockchain and it's, these products are automated, right? They're automatic. They operate without a human clicking buttons to make them operate, right? They're very, very expensive to run. Okay. They use a lot of gas.
Hello and welcome to Voice of Crypto, and we are reporting live from Zebu Live today, and we're very interesting guests, and we were just chatting about few common friends and few common people which we know. So welcome on the podcast, Angus. How are you doing today?
Yes, I'm great, thank you. It's really nice to be here, having a great time at Zebu Live, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Amazing. So Angus, this is a generic question which all my viewers know that I ask everybody is how you got into Web3. Do you remember that specific moment and what you used to do before Web3 life? Or do you even remember that?
Sure. Oh, wow. Life before Web3. Now, can I go back that far? No, it's not that long ago. So, yes, I've always been in marketing. Ever since I graduated from university, marketing's always been my calling. However, I only got into Web3 around sort of 2019, 2020. And when I did get into Web3, it started with a layer one blockchain called Telos, who you may have heard of. And sort of from there, I really got the bug, if you like, started to take a deeper interest beyond just the project I was working with into the technology that underpins it, smart contracts, dApps, how that all works, how the infrastructure operates, and how it sort of unlocks this new future from the point of view of ownership, from the point of view of economics, from the point of view of sort of faster, better, and more environmentally friendly technology. There's just so many aspects to what we're doing in this space that I think is really, really interesting. And nowadays it certainly centers more around finance or decentralized finance, DeFi, and how that is adding an extra element to the world, if you like.
Correct. And what are you currently working on? What are you building currently?
Sure. So I'm currently leading marketing at Chronicle. Some of you may have heard of Chronicle, some of you may not. I forgive you if you haven't, because we only just launched the brand a few weeks ago at Permissionless. And Chronicle is the oracle of MakerDAO, right? So we've been MakerDAO's exclusive oracle since 2017, not under the name Chronicle, of course, just as their sort of oracle core unit, if you like, their oracle team. Our founder, Nicholas Kunkel, and a guy called Mariano Conti actually built the very first oracle on Ethereum way back in 2017 for the development of SAI, or single collateral DAI, which was the sort of predecessor to DAI, the great decentralized stablecoin that we all love today. And then many iterations later, it got sort of formed into what we have now. We put this wrapper around it, which is Chronicle. We spun it out as this individual entity that could be offered to the entire Web3 space, to everyone who's building on the blockchains that we support. And the goal is to continue to serve Maker, to continue to secure about $6 billion US, which we secure for them right now, but also to expand that and allow for other protocols in the space, other people building in DeFi who want to take advantage of the oracles that have powered and really empowered Maker to become this huge force in DeFi. We've opened it up and said, hey, anyone else who wants to use our oracles, you can now too.
Correct. So you are building something for the whole ecosystem, for the whole Web3 community, rather than just focusing on one. So and yes. What does your role looks like? Since now we just launched the brand, and I understand there is a huge thing on your shoulders in which you have to build the whole brand. So what's going in your head currently?
Yeah, I think that's great that you really nailed that, because that's pretty much exactly what I'm dealing with, right? And that was why I was brought into Chronicle. It's why I joined. They wanted someone to come in and really take on the branding and the launch of this brand into the space. One of the first sort of decisions we made was this lovely bright green that you see here, which stands out on black and white, which is very important, but also is not a color that you see very often amongst other sort of projects and crypto projects in the space. So that was about being memorable. And then it's about building out the message, right? Like building out that core message. What is, you know, beyond the Oracle of Maker, which in itself is great for communicating, you know, expertise and ability and trust and security and reputation. These things that are really important for Oracle protocols. But sort of beyond that, you know, what is the message? And I think the key message that we landed on is cost-efficient, verifiable data.
Interesting. So just to explain to our users who are not from a technology brand, in simple words, maybe just in 20 words, what does Chronicle does and how does it solve a user's problem?
Sure. So in a completely non-technical way, you know, Chronicle builds oracles. And what are oracles? Oracles are essentially bridges that bridge data from off-chain onto the blockchain or from one blockchain to another blockchain. If you're building a product on the blockchain and it's, you know, these products are automated, right? They're automatic. They operate without a human clicking buttons to make them operate, right? If that product, you know, and the smart contracts that work behind that product, if they need data, so say they need to know the price of Bitcoin in US dollars right now, right? The only way they can get that price, the only way they can get that data is if an oracle bridges it in, if an oracle delivers it. And so that's essentially what an oracle is. It bridges that data in, but also it checks the truth of that data. It checks the validity of that data. It tries to get that data as accurate as possible, right? So that it's not open to manipulation, because that's when you see DeFi hacks, a lot of hacks in DeFi and things like this. Mango Markets was a really good example. What happened to them? That was down to using a subpar, a low quality and poorly designed oracle.
So since we are talking about oracles, what could be other good use cases of oracle? I mean, apart from you gave one example of understanding price points.
Sure.
What could be other real life use cases which are being used currently?
Yes. So, I mean, you've got some really interesting builders in the Oracle space. A lot of people are focusing on what's called price feeds, which we just talked about, knowing the prices of things, knowing the price of Bitcoin in US dollars, knowing the price of gold, knowing the price of any sort of asset, right? But an oracle, and certainly our oracles can handle any numerical value, right? So any number, but also oracles could be used to feed through the truth or the outcome of, say, a sports match, right? So Arsenal play Man United in football, right? Who is the winner of that match? When that's decided, an oracle can feed that data into the blockchain and into the dApp that needs it.
So that's an interesting use case which people are also building it, and Chronicle solves all these. I think one is validation, second is that whether it is a truth or not. That's what you guys are trying to solve.
Yes. So I mean, the key thing that we're really trying to focus on with Chronicle is doing this in a way where it's one, like the most safe and secure and decentralized it can be, because obviously decentralization equals security, right? Like that's what Ethereum's all about, all the validators, right? Decentralization equals security. So we're trying to do it in the most secure way, but also, as I talked about already, in a cost-efficient way, because oracles right now, especially high-quality oracles, they're very, very expensive to run. Okay. They use a lot of gas. Every time they push something on chain, it's a transaction. It uses gas, you know, and that costs a lot when you're doing that, say, tens, hundreds of times a day, maybe, right? So we've developed a way to do that more cost efficiently, so we can bring that cost down for people and effectively open up the access of high quality oracles to more builders in the space. But also, and finally, we're the only oracle to be doing that in a verifiable way. And what this means is that you don't have to trust us when we give you a number or we give you data, right? Every other oracle acts like a black box. It just kicks out, say we're talking about prices again, it kicks out that number and you just sort of have to go, oh, okay, that's great, thank you for that. How did you get this number? And they can't show you. They may be able to tell you, but then again, that's trust. You need to be able to see it for yourself, see it on the blockchain, see it in some sort of way that's representative of what's actually going on the protocol, right? And that's what we've done. We've built a dashboard that effectively shows you when we give you a number, when we give you that price of Bitcoin in US dollars, we show you which one of our feeds or validators was chosen to push that number through. how we arrived at that price amongst those validators, and then how that validator or that feed got to that price as well. So which exchanges did they go to get that price, right? So they went to Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, Bitfinex, right? And they got all of the prices from there for Bitcoin in US dollars. They aggregated it all together, took that value in the middle, the median average, and all of that's shown on our dashboard, right? All of that's there for people to see. So
it's very transparent for anybody to see and say that this is the truth. Now let's switch gears and talk about marketing in Web3. So, and yes, marketing has, it has always been across all the categories, but Web3 marketing becomes extremely important.
Yes.
And I understand a lot of time as a marketer, when you're dealing with founders who are tech-led, it's very difficult for them to understand marketing and vice versa. So how do you bridge that? How do you bridge that chronicle, create that bridge between these two things?
I like the use of bridge because that's very apt for the Oracle. But it's a really good question. It's a really, really good question because oracles are inherently very technical topic.
Yes.
They're this sort of hidden backbone, that's supporting the entire financial system on the blockchain. The entirety of DeFi is pretty much reliant on oracles. So, I think as with all marketing, it's first about sort of defining that core message. How are you going to explain this to people in a way that makes them care, in a way that they understand, in a way that's relatable? And for us, that's centered around, picking out the pain points of oracles. Oracles have been around for a long time. As we talked about, Nick and Mariano invented the first oracle on Ethereum in 2017, right? Chainlink, the largest oracle provider in the space right now, have been providing oracles since 2019 and, across the entire space, right? So oracles are this very well-entrenched infrastructure, but not a lot of people actually understand them and understand how they work. And certainly within the industry itself, people who are using these oracles, all they really understand is the problems that they have with them, right? So that's what we honed in on. We honed in on those problems. People are having problems with cost, particularly when Gwei, the price of gas spikes because we're back in a bull run and everyone's rushing back in again, right? And everyone's clogging up the blockchain with congestion. When that spikes, the price of gas goes through the roof, which means the price of running oracles goes through the roof, which means that oracle providers, like your Chainlinks, etc., have to charge a lot more for these services. So, people who are building in DeFi, this is a problem for them because these costs aren't transparent. They're getting hit with big bills out of nowhere, and they want something that's sort of designed in a way that's one, more cost efficient, and two, more transparent, right? As we talked about, they can sort of understand that cost. So the approach to marketing really was honing in on those problems, one of which was cost, and the second of which was the lack of transparency. This whole idea that the Oracle just delivers a price or delivers a piece of data, and you sort of have to just trust it, right? So once we understood those challenges and understood those problems for people building in the industry, crafting our marketing messages around that became really quite simple, right? It became just a process then of, how are we going to say this? We know what we want to say, but how are we going to say this? And we settled on the tagline, redefining cost-efficient and verifiable data.
And your business, I'm assuming, is primarily a B2B business?
That's correct. Oracles are pretty much entirely B2B. Yes.
And how are you approaching these other businesses? What has been your approach been till now? What does the future looks like?
Sure. So right now, with our launch, or the public launch of the Chronicle brand, if you like, it's about getting out that key message of, us securing Maker and what's different and what's interesting about our oracles. And the way that we're doing that is through events such as Zebu Live here in London. We were at CC DAS earlier in the week as well, talking to the more institutional sort of side of crypto, if you like, the crypto adjacent space, people building alongside crypto and helping them understand oracles. Before that, we were at Masari Mainnet in New York. Before that, we were at the RWA Summit in New York as well, where Nicholas, our founder, through his vast experience at Maker, has great insight into how the whole RWA Oracle, RWA on-chain sort of element is going to work, which, as you know, is like very hot right now. Prior to that, we were at permissionless, and before that, we were at ETH Warsaw. And all of this is about our sort of our plan, our marketing strategy, if you like, to help people to start seeing this brand name around, to recognize it when they see it, and to understand that Chronicle equals oracles.
I mean, that's really a good analogy. If people can start understanding what oracles and your brand is all about. Anything else which you would like to share with our viewers about your brand? What is going to happen? How does the future looks like to you in next 5 years? What are the trends which you are spotting now?
Sure, another great question. So, right now, as we just talked about, it's just really helping people understand that, Chronicle is this oracle of Maker and that we do oracles. And in terms of consolidation, for us, that means consolidating around price feeds, which is what the market really wants right now. It's what's the largest demand there is for price feeds, understanding the prices of different cryptocurrencies for DeFi protocols. So just helping people understand that this is something that we can provide, but also we do it in a way that's, 80% more cost efficient than the market leader, 60% more cost efficient than the next competitors after that. So in the sort of the most cost efficient and the most scalable way possible, but also really trying to push this whole thought leadership ideal around verifiable data, right? That if we're going to build truly decentralized systems in the future, these systems that operate in a really automated way, then we need to do it in a way that's verifiable. We have to do it in a way that's verifiable, that's completely trustless. We talk about trustlessness, but we say don't say trustless, say verifiable, right? Because verifiable is like trustlessness 2.0, right? So we're really trying to push that narrative and help people understand the importance of building a verifiable data layer, if you like. And then finally, what does the future look like? Like you said, what's the next 5 years? I'm not sure about 5 years, but certainly in the next year or so, we're going to be really expanding into the RWA vertical as well. As I talked about already, Nick, our founder, and some of our other team members who have come over from Maker, original Maker builders, they've got great insight into how RWAs on-chain actually works. You've got a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people talking about tokenization, etc., effectively creating these bearer bonds. How it is actually going to work moving forward. What's going to unlock that next tranche of capital, if you like, from the off-chain space and bring it in. It's not just going to be just the tokenization of real-world assets. It's going to be a layer that sits in between the on-chain DeFi and off-chain capital that is almost like an institutional grade attestation layer, right? Because right now, as we already touched on, Maker is really leading in that. I think they account for something like 90% of all RWA deployments is down to Maker, and that insight has allowed us to see, how does this actually work, on the ground, and it involves lots of different middlemen, right? In the off-chain world, you've got your creditor, you've got your issuer, you've got trustees, or auditors, all of these different elements in the middle, and they're going to have to stay there because that's how the off-chain world works, right? On-chain, we have this way of doing these things automatically or in an automated way. But off-chain, they don't. They have human beings who occupy these roles. But they have to tick boxes and they have to give their own attestations in some sort of electronic way, right? And that's what the layer that Chronicle is sort of researching and building on right now. It would act as some sort of layer to aggregate these different attestations and deliver them in a verifiable way, so that effectively capital, that transfer of capital from on-chain to off-chain and off-chain to on-chain, which by the way is in a place where there's huge synergy right now. On-chain, we've got all of this underutilized capital in DeFi right now. There's loads of money going about in lending protocols that people aren't lending, right? People aren't using. So DeFi has really low interest rates that it's offering for people to lend. But in the real world, off-chain, interest rates are super high, right? And so capital, people who need capital in the TradFi world, off-chain, they're looking for cheap credit, right? They need cheap credit. They want low interest rates. They want to be able to borrow at low interest rates. And DeFi has all of this capital just sitting there, right? To offer. But it can't right now. Like or it can, but it can't do it in an effective sort of verifiable or frictionless way.
Correct.
And that's sort of the missing link, if you like, between what's really going to unlock the deployment of capital from the RWA space into blockchain and really allow for capital on chain to be deployed into RWAs like treasuries and T-bills, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct. Amazing, and I think thank you very much for this time, and we wish all the best to Chronicle and hope to see you guys become the next unicorn in next 5 years.
Wow, that would be amazing. Yeah, I really appreciate the kind thoughts, and thank you so much for having me on the show.
Great. Thank you very much.